Hello and a warm welcome to the Federal. I'm Neelu Vyas. MCD elections, that is the Municipal Corporation of Delhi elections, were held on December 4th, where Aam Aadmi Party got a comfortable majority and BJP became a strong opposition. It's more than almost a month and a half and Delhi has not got its mayor. On January 6th, there was the first round of mayoral elections where clashes resulted between BJP and the AAP councillors, and therefore the mayor elections could not be held. On 24th January, there were clashes again reported between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, where is this scenario heading to? What happens to the governance as far as the civic issues are concerned? And what does it really reflect of the political parties like BJP and Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi? I'm joined by two veterans, Muneef Khan, who is a senior journalist with The Hindu. Welcome, Muneef, on the program. And I'm also joined by the Aam Aadmi Party supporter, Chandrasuta Dogra. Chandra, thank you so much for joining on the Federal. Let me begin by Chandrasuta. What happened exactly inside the Civic Center yesterday? I'm told that the Aam Aadmi Party was sitting quietly and it was the BJP which provoked the situation.
Yeah, see, well, the BJP, it's quite obvious to anyone that the BJP is looking like a very bad loser. They're trying their level best. They've ruled the MCD. They've been there for the last 15 years. And this is, after such a long time, the Aam Aadmi Party has wrested the Municipal Corporation of Delhi from their hands. And the BJP is obviously not liking it. So right from the word go, as soon as the election results were declared, there has been a lot of opposition from the first. There was talk that, well, the BJP just might try and lure some of the AAP councillors to their end. That kind of fizzled off, and then later on, then we had the LG who nominated the aldermen, the 10 aldermen, the nominated people. Now here, when in it's quite clear the kind of duplicity which is at work over here. In 2017, when the BJP was in power in the MCD, that is the time when it was the MCD which decided that this is the alderman will be nominated, and the LG had just ratified that decision. So now all that the Aam Aadmi Party is saying that obviously, since a precedent has been set in 2017, so why should it be reversed in 2022? Which is what now the BJP, just because it suits them, which is not really correct. And it's not graceful in a democracy to behave like this, to behave like hooligans.
Chandrasuta, what I'm hearing from the political corridors of power here in Delhi is that Aam Aadmi Party is very, very scared because BJP might poach the Aam Aadmi Party councillors. Is that true?
Well, that's very likely. I mean, I can't say whether it's true or false or what's happening behind the scenes. No one really knows. But these kind of things, that these things happen in politics. So, but which is why the Aam Aadmi Party wants that the mayor elections should be held as soon as possible. And, everything is. So the longer you drag and prolong these things, there is always the fear that there is some backroom shenanigans at play, which I'm sure is playing on the minds of the Aam Aadmi Party leadership. Right. Or any other party in that situation would also be going through a similar predicament.
Okay. Let me go to Muneef. Muneef, you must have followed the situation yesterday. What happened exactly? And it's like a blame game. Aam Aadmi Party accuses the BJP, BJP accuses the Aam Aadmi Party. What really happened and what really provoked the situation so much that it again resulted in a stalemate, and now the presiding officer has adjourned the House Sine Die, and we don't even know when the election to the mayor will happen.
Of course, date would have to come again from the Lieutenant Governor's office in this case as to when the meeting will be held next. But coming to yesterday's meeting itself, unlike the initial meeting, which was adjourned due to violent clashes, this meeting actually saw a series of initial murmurs of protest, like whether it was hooting and sloganeering. And going by what the presiding officer said, which was a final decision to adjourn the meeting, that it had created an environment that was not suitable to hold the mayoral polls in this case. But from my perspective of what I saw yesterday, The Aam Aadmi Party councillors were very much seated and rooted to where they are. They didn't want to move. They really want the elections to happen. But some heated argument towards the end was somewhat the tipping point, is what the presiding officer told me, as to adjourn the whole meeting and, of course, call it for the next date. But then again, since there were so many incidents throughout, we will have to go by what the presiding officer says, that it was not a suitable environment to hold the elections, given the fact that there were a series of instances which she felt was the primary reason as to why she didn't want to continue with the meeting.
But Muneef, there was a whole lot of hullabaloo over the fact that the nominated members cannot be part of this entire mayoral election exercise. How far is that true, and is that the basic premise on which this entire ruckus happened?
So here we'll have to go back to the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act, because that's where the provisions are. Now, the Act very clearly states that the Lieutenant Governor will nominate 10 persons who have special knowledge in municipal administration,
right,
to the civic body, right? And of course, they have chosen to nominate 10 persons in this case, but it very clearly mentions that this is subject to the fact that they do not get voting rights in meetings of the House. Now, the mayor's election happens in the meeting of the House. If they were, of course, if they're ineligible and they do not have voting rights as per the House, unless you have a Gazette notification which says that the Act has been amended and we are giving them voting rights, there is really no room to say that they can have any role in terms of the voting, because the Act itself very clearly states that these aldermen will not have voting rights in meetings of the House.
Okay. So, Chandrasuta, what happens now? Supposing if the LG gives another date, are you assured that, or maybe are you confident that supposing if a third date comes in and the similar kind of ruckus will not happen, what happens then? Are you prepared for that plan B for the next time?
See, firstly, it depends when the next date comes, how much time elapses, and whether both sides are able to hold on to their positions. There is no poaching of councillors, etc. But I also see that if nothing really moves behind the scenes, then one side will have to relent. I don't see the Aam Aadmi Party relenting at all, because one, they have been now that it's emerged as a national party, there is huge confidence and enthusiasm, and they are not prepared to be browbeaten or bullied any longer. So they are going to hold their ground because they feel that they won convincingly, so they must have their own mayor. And then this is also a young party which is very keen to showcase its model of governance, which they've done in the Delhi government. They're doing so in Punjab, and they want to do this in the MCD also. And obviously, the opposition is not liking it, and the opposition is going to put every possible hurdle in their way. It just depends whether it, and the matter eventually ends up in the court or where it goes. One really can't see or say what. But I think that a lot hinges on the backroom, what should we say, dirty tricks, which are quite obviously happening. And if the BJP actually manages to put some of the councillors and change the electoral mandate, which it has done in other states too, then
Right.
it will be a shame for democracy, of course. But what we are seeing playing out in Delhi at present is it's not graceful at all. And I think the BJP should accept that they've lost the election, so well given gracefully to the Aam Aadmi Party.
Right. But in Muneef, in context to the Delhi politics, and you have about 7 Lok Sabha seats, then you have 2024 elections coming up. What do you think is the real motive of BJP when it says that, it doesn't have numbers, but that it still wants to wrest power as far as the mayor office is concerned? What do you think is the real motive of BJP when it does that?
If we go by the numbers, because apart from the councillors, we do have the 7 Lok Sabha MPs, 3 Rajya Sabha MPs, and 14 MLAs nominated by the Delhi Assembly Speaker who vote in these mayoral elections. The BJP does not have the lead, quite clearly, because even if we stack up the numbers with them, along with the remaining 9 Congress councillors, there is a gap. So from what we've understood, and I've written about this previously also, the BJP is furthermore eyeing towards the standing committee, which is the civic body's second highest decision-making body, right? And that has a different constitution, because the first meeting of the House, which we saw, which has been adjourned, also sees
can the standing
6 members.
committees? But can the standing committees be formed till the time? I mean, even before the mayor elections happen? That is
No, you can't, because you have. So this is how the process goes. You elect the mayor, and once you elect the mayor, the presiding officer's role ends. The mayor presides over the House. He goes or she goes on to continue and hold the deputy mayor's election, and end it with the election of 6 members to the civic body standing committee. Now, these are 6 members out of 18. The remaining 12 members come from each zone. And the MCD has 12 zones under it. Each zone is a cluster of wards. So you have one person being elected from each zone. Now, to go that far, you have to complete the mayor elections, the deputy mayor elections, and of course, 6 members. Only then can you progress towards
no, but
the
as
remaining
Chandrasuta
constitution.
said, Muneef, as Chandrasuta said, that Aam Aadmi Party looks very, very unlikely that they will relent. So if AAP doesn't relent, and would BJP still continue with its insistent stand? Or is there a possibility that they might break some ground and, come to an amicable solution for this?
I mean, that'll have to be seen, because right now, going by the political context of what is happening, the BJP seems very confident of making mayor, but they know very well that the standing committee is where the prize is. Because after all, if you're going to have a mayor from Aam Aadmi Party, and if you're going to have a standing committee chairperson from an opposition party, there is bound to be a lot of differences going ahead in decision making, which also means the business of the corporation is not going to move, because you're going to have quite a few conflicts on a regular basis. So I think from what I've written and from what I've covered, I think the real prize for the BJP lies in the standing committee, because that's where they're very confident of their numbers.
Right. Chandrasuta, people are also raising this governance bogey that, the kind of narrative which was built during elections about garbage politics, about the management of the whole lot of civic issues which were highlighted during the election. How does that get impacted? And how long can Aam Aadmi Party continue to say that, look, BJP is not allowing us to function, and everything will be falling in the court of the LG. So how long can Aam Aadmi Party continue to say this?
I think they will keep struggling, just like they've been struggling in the Delhi government. You've had 2 LGs. The first LG also hounded them quite a bit, and now they're having constant skirmishes with the present LG, Mr. Saxena. Also, every other day there are allegations that the LG has usurped this power or that power, and dealing with the bureaucrats directly. The bureaucrats are sending him files directly for approval. So that kind of undermining of the government is already on for
Chandrasuta, what comes to my mind is that doesn't this kind of politics help Aam Aadmi Party as well? And they would definitely want to perpetuate this kind of a situation, because that politics is working in their favor.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. But the other way of looking at it is also that they have to deliver, and they can only deliver once they form a proper, a government or the MCD gets going finally with a regular mayor and a deputy mayor. And now a lot of their councillors are already on the ground, and they're trying to do work, whatever little they can. But I think more than politics, the Aam Aadmi Party is certainly looking to make a difference on the ground, which is what is their core strength, which is what they go to the people during elections with, their performance, their report card. So if you don't have anything to show for that, when you go for the Delhi government elections, there again, this will impact. So I don't think that will weigh that importantly with the party.
Right. But Muneef, what happens really, to the other governance issues? I mean, does this situation continue, or will BJP really think of amending itself, thinking that this kind of a situation cannot exist for too long? So do you see that situation arriving? Maybe not now, not immediately, maybe at some point of time, BJP will think about it. So what would be that turning point?
See, either party will have to understand that the situation cannot go on for this long, because routine work at the MCD will continue, no doubt. But there are also large-scale development works which require heavy financing at one end. There are policy matters which the officials of the bureaucratic wing, which is sitting over there, will not really act upon, knowing that there's going to be a democratic setup, and they're going to come with their own plans, right? So they would not want to take a decision which the parties may or may not be on board with. We've seen in Delhi over the past even something, as simple as, raising house tax rates.
Right.
There has always been a stiff opposition from councillors regarding this. So bureaucrats don't really want to take the fall for something, and they would rather wait. But at the end, one party will have to relent, because if every meeting is going to be adjourned due to a ruckus, I mean, then you'll have to call an all-party meeting, and somebody has to come and say that, where do we?
But Chandrasuta has put it straight on record that it's highly unlikely that Aam Aadmi Party will relent. So will BJP be forced to relent then?
I mean, I can't
don't know,
speak
it
for the
could be.
BJP, but
One really can't speak for either party. It's just that I'm just talking about the psychology of the Aam Aadmi Party at present. It's raring to go. So, and it's not prepared to take any kind of bullying from anyone. So that is where they stand. Obviously, I think they are moving quite reasonably. What Muneef has said, that I wasn't there in the assembly, so I really don't know. But if they were sitting quietly and waiting for the elections to happen, and it didn't happen, and then only there was a ruckus. So, well, all those factors actually show that they are very keen that the MCD should get going, because this is something which they have been working towards for the last several years to win the MCD.
Right.
Because after the Delhi government, to win the MCD has been the next step, and only then can you really showcase your model and do what you wish to do, without any. But it's not happening.
Right.
So, so there is a huge level of frustration. You can understand that. I don't think they will relent. No.
Right. Okay. Muneef, but another question which I had in mind, the first round of mayoral elections, when it happened, there was a ruckus and suddenly again the things were postponed. But yesterday, the oath taking happened of the nominated members and also of the councillors. Now, what kind of difference does that make? Can the councillors go to their wards and start interacting with people, start putting out policy matters? Or will they start talking about the governance issues? How does it play out? Exactly the fact that, they've taken the oath, and now will they be ready to meet the people?
Well, the councillors have taken the oath, and they can very much start going to their wards, identifying issues. But they can identify the issues and convey and approach with this to the bureaucratic wing, because eventually, I mean, that the bureaucratic wing has to get the work done. The councillors can identify the work, yes. But in terms of policy issues and the other matter, I mean, again, the House will have to be constituted eventually in full capacity. I mean, we've had everybody take oath. We don't have a mayor. We don't have a deputy mayor. And again, there are a lot of nuances, starting from the standing committee to even ward level committees, which go down there. So in a nutshell, no, the councillors they can go to their ward, they can identify issues, they can informally raise them with the civic officials, yes. But going as far as policy decisions, no, because currently the special officer does continue to hold his post at the MCD
even
until
if
the
you
mayor
have
is
taken
elected.
oath, the things don't get moving on the ground.
I mean, for a councillor, there's going to be his or her ward, and they're going to monitor the ward. They're going to identify issues, and they're going to take it up, of course, informally with the bureaucratic wing, and they're going to alert them maybe through the JE. It's a very micro level of work, the communication which happens.
But Muneef, doesn't the scenario suit BJP, and they would like this kind of a situation to continue?
I mean, going by the notion, yes, because many months ago, when the municipal corporation was unified and the elections then erstwhile corporations were stalled, and of course, going further, the corporation was unified. We had two councillor seats reduced from 270 to 250. And there's been a special officer in place ever since this unified municipal corporation of Delhi has been constituted. And the only provision in the act for this was that he will hold his post till the first meeting of the corporation. Now, the meeting has happened, but of course, the mayor has not been elected. So he will continue to hold his post. So in one way, it might suit the BJP, but I'm sure either party wants to have a piece of the cake. If the Aam Aadmi Party wants to have the mayor's post, the BJP simultaneously also expressed that, yes, we really eye the standing committee and we want to be a strong opposition, because eventually when they lost the elections, strong opposition was a term they kept using, and their plans are quite evident that they want to do it through a standing committee, because that is also a decision-making body in the in the MCD, which really matters at one point. So I don't think it favors either party to do it for a prolonged period. Maybe now.
But what does it really reflect as far as the conduct of BJP is concerned, despite knowing the fact that they don't have numbers and they are still continuing to eye for the mayor's post? What does it really reflect? I mean, are they stepping on the gas, or Are they becoming over and over ambitious? How does one read that?
The BJP wants to keep their foot on the gas because they want to maintain a certain pressure. If you noticed, even prior to the elections, their campaigning was quite aggressive. We had union ministers come down to do road shows for an election which is quite a micro level election. It is a civic election after all, right? And even after losing it, they've very much maintained that pressure, saying that we are not going to step down, we're going to be a strong opposition. So it's also a perceptive battle that they're fighting, because 15 years of being at the MCD and now you're suddenly not in power, they don't want to let it go easy. And for any opposition, of course, they don't want to let it go easy. They want to keep their foot on the gas. But what it means in larger terms, I mean, that has been shifting. Well, initially, they were not sure of making the mayor, but eventually they did say that, we will contest. And eventually now it's come back to saying that we are going to make our mayor. So it also looks as a perceptive tactic that they don't want to, they don't want this image of a strong opposition to fade even by the slightest bit, that they're there watching every step. So it's also a mind tactic from what I see, because the numbers really don't for the mayor's election are not in the BJP's favor.
Right. So BJP seems to be playing a tactical game. But Chandrasuta, I would like to come to you for a very important aspect, and that is that, if this kind of a stalemate continues, obviously not doubting the intentions of the Aam Aadmi Party, even the fact that you want to work, your party wants to work for the MCD, you want to resolve the civic issues, but what if the situation continues? And people, will they not begin to lose faith in the Aam Aadmi Party? Because the kind of narrative you put out, and how aggressively you said that, no, you will fight out the garbage, and a whole lot of civic issues which you counted during the elections, will the people not start losing faith? And ultimately, the people of Delhi will think that, look, they've been promising a lot of things, but ultimately they are at the mercy of the LG or at the mercy of the center. And so there's no point in voting for Aam Aadmi Party, so might as well just vote for BJP. So how does it play out in the
I think this is precisely what the BJP is aiming at, that make them absolutely irrelevant, so that they are unable to do what they wish to do, and they shouldn't be able to demonstrate or at least perform as well as they wish to, and let the people get disillusioned with their promises. I think that suits the BJP perfectly, which is what it has been doing for the last few years that we are seeing. Putting hurdles in the way of the Delhi government, trying to stall the mayor election, and various other ways. So you're spot on that one.
Right. So how do you fight that out? How do you fight out this tactical?
I think it's just going to be. I think it's just going to be a struggle. You take each day as it comes, because this is what we are seeing. Every other day there is a new missile thrown at the Delhi government, or now here. So I think Arvind Kejriwal and his band of ministers and loyalists, they've got quite used to it by now.
So you have enough ammunition to fight out BJP, you're saying?
Well, in a guerrilla war, you don't need much ammunition at all.
Okay, so you seem to be quite ready and quite immune to whatever is happening. So Muneef, towards the end, when do you see the third round of mayoral elections? I mean, when do we see this date coming out, and how soon can that happen really?
I mean, from what I have been, having a chat with the civic officials also, is what the understanding is that since the councillors have taken oath, this meeting specifically should happen as soon as possible, and maybe in the first week of February is what people are eyeing at. Now that call will be taken by the Lieutenant Governor's office.
Right.
But coming to the third round altogether, I mean, this time around, either Delhi should get a mayor and the remaining processes should be completed. And if Delhi does get a mayor and the remaining processes are not completed, I don't know whether many people know this, is that the mayor will continue to hold the powers of the standing committee chairperson till the standing committee is constituted. So again, the agenda of the meeting is in 4 stages. You administer oath, you hold the mayor election, you hold the deputy mayor's election, and finally you conclude with the standing committee. So
but
it has to be seen.
What if the third round also faces a similar stalemate? There is no guarantee that things will happen smoothly.
Of course. And like I said, somebody will have to call for an all-party meeting, and somehow they have to draw a truce somewhere, because if this keeps continuing, I mean, you just have elected representatives who are very much stuck. Like they're just on the edge of a cliff, waiting to know which way to turn. Because as of now,
Absolutely.
Delhi has elected corporators who have been waiting to get into action for more than 50 days now.
Right. So how the truce will happen, nobody knows. And as Chandrasuta said, who knows that the entire battle would land at the court's doorstep. We do not know, but all eyes would be on when the next date is announced. Thank you so much, Muneef. It was a wonderful having you on the program. And thank you so much, Chandrasuta, for joining on the program. So stay tuned to the Federal for more political news. Thank you so much.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more interesting updates.